of appeasement is over. Those who practice appeasement are going to find themselves shamed in world history. The time has come to stand up to these bullies and these murderers.
Well, that's former mayor of New York City, of course, and the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, last year attending the huge Iranian opposition rally of the National Council of Resistance of Iran in France. He speaks there every year. This year, the event, called the Free Iran Global Summit, was held virtually because of coronavirus, but the message in to Tehran has stayed the same, calling for the end of the Iranian theocratic regime and crediting President Trump's maximum pressure campaign against Iran for progress. Maryam Rajavi is the group's leader.
We believe regime change in Iran by the Iranian people and resistance is within reach. We expect the international community to adopt a firm policy vis-à-vis the regime in Iran to recognize the right of the Iranian people to resist against the ruling tyranny and to stand with them in their struggle for freedom.
Well, former Mayor Rudy Giuliani joins us now. Mr. Mayor, good to see you. You've supported the group for years. Of course, you too. You've supported the group for years. You've spoken many times. What did you tell them this year about Iran?
Well, you know, I told them this year that we're getting closer, and we're getting closer for reasons that almost be a surprise to people in America, because the mainstream media really does the work of Iran. I think because Obama was so favorable to Iran, the mainstream media has become apologists for Iran. But the simple fact is, for the last 2.5 years, there's been a protest every 2 days in Iran. They've killed, in the first year of it, they killed 1,500 people. Now it's harder to get statistics, but I know last week they killed 13 people in protests. Every city in Iran has had a protest. The protests almost always get violent on the part of the Iranian authorities. I mean, they shoot and kill people in a protest. Nothing like the issues we have here in America. And if you're MEK, the sentence is death on sight. So we've lost, since the protesters began, we've lost about 1,200 identifiable people who either were MEK, or there are some cases where they suspect some poor person of being MEK who isn't, and they slaughter him. This is a regime that is beyond anything in the world, the regime of terror.
When you say MEK, you're talking about the National Council of Resistance of Iran. They've got lots of activists out there. We've interviewed some of the protesters out on the streets. It's been a controversial group, was once on the terrorism list of the U.S. Now, as you just said, Tehran calls them the terrorists.
Eric, who's going to do this but a controversial group? They've lost 20,000 of their members. I mean, you don't do this unless somebody comes against you. These are extraordinarily brave people. You know them. You've met them. They're not terrorists. They were taken off the terrorist list now 10 years ago. That was all done with a big stupid deal with crooked Clinton, and finally got straightened out 10 years later. If you talk to anybody in the American military, anybody, from General Jack Kane, who spoke yesterday, who is my most respected member of the military, to anyone else, they'll tell you this group helped us more in Iraq than anybody, even more than our European allies. They lost more lives for us. This is an American group. They want a free Iran. They want a non-nuclear Iran. They want an Iran that allows rights for women, which is why they have a interim president, who's a woman, and a great woman by all means. And they have twice attempted to assassinate her right next to me. So I'm pretty close to her. They did that twice in 2018. Once in Albania, those people have been arrested and convicted. And then once, you remember, 2 years ago, we had 100,000 people in Paris, and the morning of the rally, they arrested 4 people, including an Iranian diplomat, coming there to blow up our rally. So this is a very dangerous group. And we got the message out yesterday with the largest virtual Zoom conference ever. I think we're in the Guinness Book of Records. We reach millions of people. And the thing that we do that people don't realize, we go into Iran. They have terrific equipment. These are brilliant people. We go into Iran, every city, and we broadcast in Iran. And I get letters from Iran.
Let me interrupt you. You mentioned the woman. Her name is Maryam Rajavi. You're right. There was this assassination attempt, a bombing attempt, at the event that you were at last March Here is Mrs. Rajavi talking about her group's aims.
The Iranian resistance has also emphasized the need to restore the 6 UN Security Council resolutions against the regime. We call for the extension of the international arms embargo against the regime.
30 seconds left. Do you think we will see the day when the Iran regime will fall?
Just like we saw the day in Poland and the Soviet Union and the Berlin Wall fall, and we woke up the next morning and said, how did this happen? I can feel it. I know how tenuous that hold is, and I know how strong and determined these people are, and how well-funded they are. This is not a group to be taken lightly, and America should give it more support.
Former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who's been speaking to this group and has been involved in this issue for quite a long time. Mr. Mayor, good to see you. Thank you, and
good to see you, Eric. Always good.
We will see how the policies continue if they finally result in the goal with which this group wants.